Hello and welcome to Beebe Book Buzz. This is the show where your Beebe Librarians share with you the books that we've been reading most recently and enjoying, and in hopes that you can find your next great read. My name is Karen Stern, and I'm here today with my colleagues Beth Radcliffe and Erin Dagenet, both from the reference desk. And it's springtime, so we have some, I would say, three really accessible reads to give you today. Some fun stuff, accessible is a good word for everything. And I think Beth's going to start.
Okay. So my book is by Mia Manansala, and it's the main character is Lila Makapagala. She was orphaned as a child and raised by her warm and generous Tita Rosi and her tough, no-nonsense grandmother, Lola Flor. Did you have a question?
I was just wondering, the title.
Sorry, oh, right. Did I forget to say the title?
I was
it's a wonderful title. Sorry. It's Arsenic and Adobo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
our heroine, Lila, has just come back to town from a failed romance and a failed restaurant to help out her family restaurant run by her Filipino family, located about 2 hours outside of Chicago. So she's back in the restaurant. The dastardly film critic,
restaurant,
food critic has given them an awful review. He's come into the restaurant, eaten, and keels over.
Oh,
so we got a cozy mystery on our hands.
That's right. Okay. So being a cozy, it's got a bright amateur detective, our heroine, Lila. It takes place in a small town. There's no profanity. There's no violence on the page. So you're not going to see somebody get killed or attacked. You're going to hear about it. And being a cozy, there are a lot of wonderful secondary characters. And that includes her family, her godmothers, and they are gossipy and they're meddling and they chide her. The aunties.
Yeah.
And then there's her best friend who helps her with her sleuthing.
Yeah.
And then there are two very handsome young men who are vying for her attention.
Mm-hmm.
That is not typical cozy, but it's
got a little romance on that side.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice.
That's
fun.
Up. Yeah. Let's see. So, there was one more character I wanted to mention, and that's Nisa, our heroine's dachshund. And
dogs too.
Yes. The dog is named after Loganisa, which is a short, fat Filipino sausage. And unlike
the literal wiener dogs.
Exactly. And this is not a talking dog or a dog that helps her solve mysteries. It's just entertainment value.
Right.
She's a sweet dog.
Right.
So all of these characters add to the humor of the book, and so does Nisa, the sausage. So you hear it in what's happening and also in the dialogue she's having with people and her inner dialogue.
Right.
Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. So Lila is Filipino-American, and that's an integral part of the book. It provides a window into the importance of the family in her life, their demands and expectations, and what she faces from the love and support that they give to her. Then, of course, there's the food.
Yeah.
Since Lila goes to all the major restaurants in town because most likely who killed the dastardly food critic was a restaurateur, right? So we get to hear about the food from all the different restaurants, and they vary. They're from Japanese, good old American, also barbecue, so you get all these different cuisines. It's really wonderful.
Are there recipes?
There are recipes, not from all the different restaurants, just the Filipino ones.
Right. Oh, cool.
And I'll say a little more about that later. And she makes them sound delicious. So some of the stuff she talks about is coffee. Her best friend is it next door in a cafe? Mm-hmm. I don't like coffee. I don't like coconut. She makes me want to like them because she does such a good job describing them. And in fact, if there weren't so many murders in this town, and if it wasn't a fictional town, I really want to move there.
Right.
I'd be going to all these wonderful restaurants.
So foodies might love this book.
Yes, I think so.
Got a lot of appeal factors.
The plot, of course, right?
Right.
It's a mystery, so there's twists and turns. There's a lot of victims, which is also part of cozies.
Yeah.
And of course, our heroine Leela stumbles on all of them.
Right.
That's the other reason I wouldn't want to live there, because there's too many murder victims. It's like living in that place in Maine with Miss Murder She Writes.
Right.
Oh,
Yes,
Agatha Christie, or
Miss Marple.
Angela.
Miss,
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
Miss
no,
Marple.
not Miss
We got the
Marple.
wrong one.
Anyway, that one.
Anyway, that one. The one in Maine that's on TV.
Yeah, Angela
Lansbury, right. Let's see. So food, love, and family intertwine enjoyably in this book.
with death.
Yes, and I was going to say you get an entertaining mystery along the way.
Right.
So this is the first in the series, and this is the second one, Homicide and Hollow, I guess. And what I was going to say is that they have different recipes, and it's the fourth is coming out in October, so you can even just pick them up for the recipes, which are also on her online sites.
Is it the same character in each?
Yes.
So she follows
the same.
Okay.
Her aunties are always going to be there,
Yeah.
and so is her girlfriend and her aunt and her grandmother
And the dog, because the dog's on the
and
cover of the second one
the dog
too.
is in the you can't see it that well here, but yes, the dog follows along.
Okay. And what about the men? Do they just go by the wayside? Not telling. Okay. Fair enough.
But I can tell you there are a lot of other cozy mysteries that are intertwined with food. So,
Right.
If you like, these mysteries that I've gotten for you are also mostly Asian American.
Uh-huh. Right.
So there's the Aunties series
the Aunties
by
series.
Jessie Satando.
Mhm.
That's and then there's Vivian Chen, who does Taiwanese American.
Mhm.
That's a noodle shop mystery. Valerie Burns is not Asian; she's African American, but that is a wonderful series. And
that
it's the
food
Baker
too?
Street series. Yeah,
Food?
she
Okay.
inherits a bakery from her grandmother.
Okay.
And the wonderful thing about that one is that she has never cooked in her life.
Right.
She doesn't know
She
how to
suddenly
crack
owns
eggs,
this.
and she suddenly owns
Okay.
this wonderful bakery.
Yeah, we'll put all of these in the credits at the end, but so you'll have to give me a list.
Okay, will do.
All right, sounds good.
Cool.
All right. So from that, we're going to. It's funny because mine
It's
has
my
a
turn.
few similarities to yours, but we're going to leave
good.
mine for the
Good,
end,
good.
and we're going to go to Erin now.
I don't think mine has many similarities to yours at all. And in fact, when you gave your sort of there's no violence and no profanity as a pre-cozy opener, I thought maybe I should say that mine has quite a violent
Oh,
scene in it. But
just one.
yeah, a big one.
Yeah, a big one. Okay.
So my book is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, who also has written many books. She wrote The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, which I think is one that probably maybe most readers might have heard of.
Yeah.
And I will tell you a little bit about it. But I wanted to say that something that I'm learning from Karen and Beth at my job is that when we talk about books in this kind of setting, we're always trying to focus more on what is appealing in the book and how to put the right book into the right reader's hand.
Absolutely.
And we talk less about what the book is about. But obviously we have to tell you a little bit of what the book is about because you need some kind of, you just have to know some facts. So if you read any kind of review of this book, you'll see you might be led to believe that it's about video games.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that I believe this book is about the tenderness and volatility of artistic collaboration and what it truly means to be passionately share work with another person. Also, why relationships can and should endure even when it's really hard.
Okay. I'm really glad you're saying that because I looked at the reviews and I was like, gaming.
Yeah. But as the author also says, yes, it's also about video games. Right. So there is that component too.
So for those of you who are into that, that is...
exactly. And a little bit on when I talk about who I think this book is for, I will bring up the gamers. So some of the details to give you the bones of the book. At its core, it's about two friends, Sam and Sadie, who meet as children through different childhood traumas. They become fast friends through their love of video games. They have a conflict as children, and that sort of causes a fissure in their relationship for a long time, but they reconnect in early adulthood when they're both students in Cambridge, here in MIT. One is at MIT, one is at Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
And video games, again, drive their connection, but instead of playing them this time, they become video game designers.
Mm-hmm.
What we see in the book is the conflict between the worlds that Sam and Sadie are creating in the gaming
Mm-hmm.
side and that they're living in their real world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Cool.
it's always this like push and pull of this created world versus what they're living.
Mm-hmm.
The third main character is Marks, and he's Sam's brilliant, wealthy college roommate who doesn't have a real plan for himself. He's very bright and sort of dabbles in acting, but he sort of decides to join Sam and Sadie on this video game adventure, and because he's skilled and personable, he runs the company that ends up producing the video games. And the authors describe the three of them as sort of an equilateral triangle. They all contribute equally, they take equally, there's no competition or rivalry between them. They're really giving their all to their company and to their craft. For the most part, for most of the book, I found myself rooting so deeply for these characters to not just succeed in their corporate world and their art, but also to be happy. I was so in love with the characters. There's this heaviness to all three of the characters, but especially with Sam and Sadie. There are events in the book that are shocking. This is the violence that I referred to. But at the same time, the events are so everyday. You could open the paper. There's nothing remarkable about the violence in the book, but it's because it's sort of an everyday experience. It's easy to understand and empathize with the characters that are going through what they're going through. The book at its core is about interpersonal relationships, tension, and unhealed trauma. There are themes of identity. Sam is half Korean, half Jewish. Marks is Japanese and Korean. Sadie is American and Jewish. Sam struggles the most with his identity due to losses that he's had as a child and trying to figure out who he is in the face of his great aloneness. The author is great at articulating emotion and the bitterness and the anger of the characters in the sort of ebbs and flows of their relationships. And it's very palpable how she describes emotion. So I think for anyone who's really like just can dive into a book and feel the passion that the characters are feeling, I think this is a really good book. So on to the video gaming. The video games are another form of storytelling for the author. And we were sort of chatting on the car on the way here, and it's not about the gaming, it's that the gaming provides, what was the word that you used, like the vehicle for the storytelling.
Yeah.
And for these characters, it's video gaming. It could be artists, it could be writers, any time that there's something creative going on. So the video game here brings the characters together, and the authors used it to help the characters connect. But you don't have to play games. You don't have to like games. You don't have to understand games. You don't have to know anything about video games to like this book. There's some gamer talk that's very accurate. So I think gamers could read it and not feel like this author has no idea what she's talking about. Like, she has gamed. She clearly did a lot of research going into this book. But really, it's a coming-of-age story of artists that go alongside the coming-of-age story of the technology that they're creating.
Right.
So they are doing this in the mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s, when gaming is getting going. So it's all happening at the same time. Their personal growth as students and humans is growing along the technology that they're creating and developing. The book spans 30 years, but it's paced really well. There's no part of the book feels like it's dragged on. No part feels like it's gone too quickly. So that's the book. Now, read-alikes for the book I struggled with a little bit.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. In my book club, we talked about this book, and my friend Susan and I talked about A Little Life, which we both love, by Hanya Yanagihara.
Oh, wow.
Which is a very different book, but at its core, also, it's a love story of platonic friends. It's a love story of friendship, deeply rooted in character. And this book gave me that feeling too. A Little Life has a lot of more deep sadness. Also, some of the Douglas Copeland books, which Douglas Copeland, as I was thinking about this, he's a very extremely Canadian writer, and I don't know if people here really read a lot of Douglas Copeland.
I don't know.
So he wrote like Generation X, J-Pod. He wrote one called Microsurfs. He's a great, funny writer, but the aging of the characters, the timing of the book, all kind of goes with that, and there's a lot of text stuff in there too. And then something that was suggested elsewhere is Now Is Not the Time to Panic by Kevin Wilson.
Oh, yes.
So that sort of like acerbic comedy. I think anyone who loves a rich, complicated character would really be into this book.
No, it says, and I don't think we should play down the gaming side of things at all, because it is artistry. I mean, think about what goes into making games these days.
It is artistry.
You think about the drawing, whether it's electronic or not, the art, the literal art, and then the music, and
the world building.
And the world building is huge.
I mean, a whole part of this book that you sort of are seeing it within the game. And it took me as a non-gaming person a little bit to get into it, but it's such a beautiful metaphor for what the characters are experiencing outside of life. And it's a creation. It's very layered. It's a creation of one for the other as this sort of, it's how they communicate their love to each other by creating these worlds. And it's really magically done, I think.
And I think that's, especially for younger generations, so many of them communicate already through games in that way. And so this is just something that brings that out.
Does it deal with any of the sexism that goes on in the gaming world?
100% it does. Yeah, it does talk about that. I mean, it's set, so something to remember about this book is it's set in a time where, I mean, sexism was, we didn't talk about sexism the way we talk about it now. We didn't talk about
a lot of things,
boundaries the way we do now. But one of the games they developed really early on, they want a character who's non-binary. And the gaming company fights against that, but it's really important to them. And I think it helps them to articulate a way for all gamers to see themselves in the game, not just, male players as young people. And that was something that was important for the author to work in there, but it plays so beautifully in the book. Yeah.
Sounds really good.
Yeah,
I really want to read that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'll send it to my younger nieces and nephews.
Yeah,
I was actually...
and I don't think there's an age limit on this book. I think younger people will like it. I think people who grew up in the gaming world, like my age, people will like it. And I think just people who enjoy a good story and good writing will like it too. So,
It doesn't really, and that's when a book is good, when it can appeal across all those.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
On to you.
Over to me. So anybody, I don't usually do spy novels. Here I am doing a spy novel. Here's to you, Leanne. I love a good spy novel, honestly, but I'm really picky about them. I don't love them easily. They have to be really good in my terms. And I'm actually, I have in my time loved everybody from, I used to devour like Robert Ludlum when I was a teenager. And I was never that big a Le Carre fan, but there's those really intense like spy writers, and I do love them. Jason Matthews is the kind of newer one. He wrote the Red Sparrow series.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I remembered you talking about
that. And if you like, Ludlum and Le Carre and all those, he's on par with those guys. And then there's like Ian Fleming, obviously.
Right.
And I would say that this is like none of those. But so I kind of wanted to set that up as a contrast at the beginning. It's more like the Ian Fleming movies, like James Bond movies. it's more like that, stylish and a little flash, maybe not stylish, but a little zippier, right? The Ian Fleming books are actually really kind of gritty. I don't think a lot of people realize that,
Right.
because they turn the movies into
Yeah.
these really
Glamour.
kind of flashy, glamorous things, right? So I wouldn't say that Emma is necessarily glamorous, but she's definitely more on that. Think kind of Emma Peel of the Avengers in the 1960s
yes.
show, or if you liked Killing Eve, and
Yeah.
the setting of all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so if you like your spy novel shaken up and stirred a little, this one has a young woman, MI6 agent at its heart, and she's fresh out of spy school, and she knows London like the back of her hand, and she can definitely get the job done in a fight scene. And if you like a little bit of sexual tension, served neat without misogyny or anything explicit, and if you like to be able to sit down and devour all of that in about a day or two, maybe, with all kinds of fast-paced action and all of that, this is probably the spy novel for you. And it is, as you can see, Alias Emma by Ava Glass. And Ava Glass is a pseudonym for the author Christy Doherty, who is a former crime reporter and an ex-civil servant. She worked in as a communications consultant for the British Home Office, where she was not a spy, she hastens to add, but she was she worked adjacent to spies, and so that's where she kind of got her
soaked in a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
ideas.
yeah. She's a YA author under her other name, her real name, of a series called Night School. But this is her first adult foray. And as I said, the character for her new series is Emma, and her name is Emma Makepeace, which is also a pseudonym. It's her chosen name for her spy persona. And she's actually Anna, who is the daughter of Russian dissidents. And therefore she has a little bit of a grudge against Russia, who, surprise, surprise, are the bad guys. And in a very sort of timely way, there's a lot of references to the Russia of now. But she's always kind of wanted to get her revenge by becoming a spy. So as the story begins, Emma has just been given her chance at a first real assignment, and she's essentially, that assignment has her trying to get across London, escort this young and surprisingly handsome doctor, who is also the son of dissidents, across London in 12 hours. He is very reluctant to come, so there's kind of this he
There's
doesn't really
ticking time clock in this.
That's
Whoa.
exactly what it is. That's exactly what this is. He doesn't really believe there's like a serious threat to his life at first, so he doesn't really want to come. And so part of the tension that starts between them, that then becomes something of a different kind of tension, is because he's just like, I don't want to go, and she's like, but you have to go. And so they have to get across London. You might think, well, why is getting across London such a big deal? Well. Fun fact, London is one of the most, in real life, London is one of the most surveilled cities on the face of the earth.
All those cameras you see in the TV, in the TV shows.
All of those cameras. As of last year, there were over, and this is I did some research, 942,562 CCTV cameras in London, meaning there is one CCTV camera for every 10 people in the capital, and you are likely to be captured on London CCTV up to 70 times per day, just walking around.
Wow.
So, in our story, those cameras have been hacked by the Russians. So her task, again, it's kind of like a video game. Kind of there's similarities to both.
Find the path.
She has to get through London as much as possible without being seen on camera, and
It's like
get
Pac-Man.
him.
Well, it's not quite like Pac-Man.
Kind of like Pac-Man. And along the way, she has to use her locals' knowledge of London. With everything from how to sweet talk a London cabbie to where the underground rivers are, because there are. Did you know there were rivers underground? The Victorians, I think, built, or maybe it was even earlier than that. They just built I don't know what you call them, but they're walled in, and they built the city over the river, so the rivers still flow underneath there. And so there's a point where they have to go down underneath, and so she uses her knowledge, and of course she's always being pursued, and they are always clashing with the Russians along the way. And
does she speak Russian?
Oh yes, fluent Russian and
Does
fluent
he?
a couple of other things. I think he does too, although he doesn't really have to use it very much, I don't think. So she does the characters and the relationship well, although I wouldn't ever call this like a deep dive into character. It's
Right.
not that. You'll be reading this book for the pace, right? For the action-packed page turning. And there's a mystery at the heart of it all. You're like, she's kind of out there on her own with this guy, and you don't understand. She's trying to understand why nobody's helping her. Like, she keeps putting calls into MI6 and getting stonewalled. And so there's this kind of, not mystery, but there's a sense of traitorousness happening. And in fact, the next book in the series is called The Traitor, so I think they're going to go further with that. And then there's the fabulous, like, there's London, which
sounds like a character in the
totally
story.
A character.
Yeah.
And there's like all the little back streets and the muses and the little parks and like I said, the underground rivers, and there's definitely a boat chase scene across the Thames a la James Bond.
And this is set in current times, right?
Oh yeah, this is right
very
here,
modern.
right now. Oh yeah. Yep. So it's got everything, and like I said, you can sit down and
devour it
totally.
And
it's got the love interest as well. So
yeah.
I'd want to read that because otherwise I'd be so tense that.
Oh yeah, you want to get it done. Yeah,
get it done.
Yeah, no, and it's been optioned for a TV series, so
That's
here we
cool.
go. It's a lot of fun.
So read it before it goes to the screen.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Always do the book before the movie. Always.
It does sound like the kind of book that you'd be like playing it out in your mind as you're reading it, like a movie, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Has
And
there been-
just like you can binge the book, I'm sure
Probably,
you can binge
yeah.
I'm sure they'll do.
Has
the
there
whole
been any
series.
talk about
who's
Who's
playing? I haven't heard that
We'll
yet.
have to figure that out.
No. So anyway, that's Alias Emma by Ava Glass. Read and enjoy. It's a lot of fun. And before we go, I'm just going to tell you about a couple of events that are coming up at the library. We have, it's our 100, if you hadn't found out by now, it's our 100th anniversary this year of the building at 345 Main Street. And we are having a 100th anniversary celebration of the dedication of the building, which happened on April 14th, 1923. And our celebration is on April 15th, 2023. And it's a Saturday at the library, and there will be some speeches, and there'll be a fun scavenger hunt, and there'll be photos and art on display, and it'll be a good day, and we hope you'll all come by. I think the speeches start around 11. It's an open house, so just come on, come all, come whenever, and take part in the fun that we'll have for you there. And then on the 29th of April, for those of you who have been missing it, Blossoms at the Beebe is back. And we hope that you will join us for that as well. Tickets are on sale now. You can get them online. Probably the best thing to do is to go to our website to find out how, or give us a call at 781-246-6334, and we can tell you all about it. It's, again, sort of another celebration for our 100th anniversary, partly, and of course of the town. The Chamber of Commerce is part of all of this as well, and puts it on. So we will look forward to seeing you there for music and cocktails and
dancing,
an auction. Thank you. Can't think of the word. Dancing. Yep, it's always a good time. All right, and that's it for Beebe Book Buzz today. We'll see you next month. Bye bye.